We're going to go through and I'm going to show you how you can use the unit circle to figure out the answers to these questions. And it's pretty quick. It's considerably quicker than what we did in lesson 9 where you were drawing the triangle every single time. So I just want to remind you that in the unit circle, every ordered pair is representing cosine and sine. So your x value is always cosine and your y value is always sine. So what we're going to do is just find these degrees, find these measurements on the unit circle, and we'll be able to look at the ordered pair and almost immediately get our answer. So for the sine of 30, first thing you need to do is find 30 degrees on the unit circle, which is right here. And then remembering that sine is your y value, you're just going to take the y value of that ordered pair, and that is your answer. So the answer to example 1 is 1/2. Let's look at example 2. So we're talking about the cosine of 315 degrees. So here's 315 degrees. The cosine is always the x coordinate of our ordered pair. So our answer is the square root of 2/2. And then finally, tangent. This one's a little bit more complicated. Remember that the tangent of theta is equal to y/x, or you can think of it as the sine value over the cosine value. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to find 210 on the unit circle, which is right here. But now we can't go straight to our answer. We're going to take our y coordinate, which is -1/2, and divide it by our x coordinate. So this is my y coordinate and my x coordinate. I'm going to do -1/2 divided by negative square root of 3/2. I have a complex fraction, so I have to take the top fraction and multiply it by the reciprocal of the bottom fraction. Here the 2's cancel and also the negatives cancel, so my answer will be positive. And I end up with 1 over the square root of 3, which I unfortunately can't leave that way. I have to rationalize the denominator. So my final answer would be the square root of 3/3. To find the cosecant of 315 degrees, first we need to locate 315 on our unit circle, which is right here. And then we don't have we can't immediately get to our answer of cosecant, but what we can do is remember that cosecant and sine are reciprocals of each other. So if I can figure out what the answer for sine is, and then I flip it, that's going to give me my answer for cosecant. So in the unit circle, my y value of the coordinate is always going to give you your sine value. So I know my sine value is negative square root of 2/2. So to find cosecant, I'm going to flip it upside down. So I'll have -2 over the square root of 2. I have to rationalize the denominator. So I'm going to end up with -2 square root 2/2. And then these 2's on the outside of the radical can cancel. And my final answer is negative square root 2. Example 5 is going to be super fast. We have to find 90 degrees on our unit circle. So that's right here. And then my y coordinate, which is 1, will be my final answer. So answer for number 5 is just 1. Cotangent is going to be a little bit more work. Remember that cotangent of theta is equal to x over y. So you hopefully have that memorized. If not, hopefully you have that tangent y is y over x, and then you can just kind of flip it in your head. So we're going to take a look at 180 degrees, which is right here. And I'm going to take my x coordinate and divide it by my y coordinate. So that's going to be -1 divided by 0. Anytime you're dividing a fraction by 0, the answer is going to be that it is undefined because you can't divide by 0. Last example is tangent of 150. So again, remember that tangent of theta is equal to x over y. So I'm going to find my angle, which is 150. So that is right here. And then I'm going to divide my my x or my y value by my x value. So I'm going to do 1/2 divided by negative square root 3/2. This is a complex fraction, so we'll take the numerator and multiply by the reciprocal of the denominator. These 2's are going to cancel each other out. And what I have left is -1 over the square root of 3. But I also have to rationalize so that I'm not leaving a radical in the denominator. So my final answer is going to be negative square root of 3/3. Example 8 is going to be really fast. I'm going to find pi over 3 on my unit circle, which is right here. And then my answer is going to be the y-coordinate of that ordered pair. So final answer for example 8 is the square root of 3 over 2. Example 9 is going to be a little bit more work because we have to remember that tangent is equal to y over x. So the first thing I'm going to do is find my ordered pair, or I'm sorry, find my angle, which is pi over 2. And then I'm going to use this ordered pair. I'm going to say it's y over x. So that would be 1 over 0. Since we're dividing by 0, it's undefined. And then for cosecant, we just have to remember that cosecant and sine are reciprocals of each other. So we're going to figure out what the answer is for sine, and then we'll take the reciprocal. So I'm looking for 7 pi over 6. That's right here on the unit circle. And I'm looking specifically for my sine value, which is negative 1/2. So if I take negative 1/2 and I take the reciprocal, that would be negative 2 over 1, or just negative 2. For example 11, we need to remember that the cotangent of theta is x over y. So the first thing I'm going to do is figure out where my theta is, which is pi over 2. So that's right here. And then I'm going to take my x value over my y value. So that would be 0 over 1. This answer is just 0 because 0 is in the numerator. If 0 is in the denominator, that's when it is undefined. For number 12, we have to remember that secant is partners with cosine. So what we're going to do is figure out what's the answer for cosine, and then we'll flip that answer to get our answer for secant. So the first thing I'm going to do is find 3 pi over 4 on my unit circle, which is right here. And then I want to focus on my cosine value, which is equivalent to my x coordinate. So now I take that coordinate and I flip it upside down because we're doing the reciprocal. So I'm going to do negative 2 over the square root of 2. I have to rationalize the denominator. So I end up with negative 2 square root 2 over 2. The 2's cancel, and my final answer is negative square root 2. All right, last example. This one is going to be considerably easier than the other two because I know that my sine value is just the y-coordinate of my point. So let's figure out where 3 pi over 4 is. Okay, and we've already highlighted it because we used it in the previous example. But now I'm going to be looking at my y-coordinate. And this one, whatever it is our final answer. We don't have to do any flipping or dividing. So final answer for number 13 is square root of 2 over 2.